Throughout my A-levels, I've learned that researching your audience and getting feedback is a very important factor that can decide the success or failure of your film. That's why during my advanced portfolio, I focused a lot more on audience feedback. For this portfolio, I found technology helpful in compiling audience feedback, especially on the Microsoft Forms app. I could create surveys to get data regarding my products. Right at the start, I created a survey to gauge my demographic so I could cater my film towards their tastes. I knew that I wanted to focus my film towards teens and mostly girls. My sample audience was almost half in the 16 to 18 age group and 2/3 were female. Most said that they got most of their news online, therefore I would aim my ancillaries to be marketed online in order to reach the widest audience. Drama wasn't a super popular genre, but it wasn't unpopular either. The two highest were action, which I lacked the budget for, and comedy, which is hard to do convincingly. When I researched demographic further, I found that drama was one of the most popular genres amongst women, so I decided to go with coming-of-age drama because it appealed to my demographic in terms of age. Two of the most important questions from this survey asked whether the audience preferred action or dialogue in a scene, and whether they preferred to focus on character or narrative. I found that focus on dialogue and characters were the most popular, with about 2/3 of the votes. This was extremely helpful for me while I developed my story because I knew what to focus on more. During the drafts of my coursework, I would seek feedback from peers and also teachers and adults regarding the quality of my work. I had some conversations with my parents who had both worked in video editing, and they were able to advise me to better my product. Here are some of their comments and how they affected my final product.
Maybe you can change colour when you flick between the two of them walking.
You know?
What about if you also, zoom in to like her by herself and then zoom out and it's the two of them together? At one point, when Lottie threw the plane at Libby sounded loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could maybe just bring her down a bit there to even it out. It just feels like at times it felt full and then it just felt a bit empty. Maybe you're going for
what I'm going for is it feels full when it's both the girls, and then when it's just Libby alone, it's empty.
Okay, that's cool.
Can you extend this clip? You don't have time to read it. I think, can these be a little bit longer? Like especially that one because it's quite busy. Because that is why it takes a while for your eyes to figure out that there's letters there. And so the only thing I was a bit confused about was when they were sitting together by Bonwee and then suddenly she was on her own. Yeah, that's not as stark a comparison as the other comparisons because it's, I'm wondering if you need to make that more blue.
I was glad that the feedback was mostly positive, but I was also able to take constructive criticism and develop my film. One piece of advice that changed the film was that I should include a close-up reaction shot at the very end of my film to tie it together. So I added this and much preferred the outcome. I created a Microsoft form to help me gauge the success of my ancillary products in terms of branding and a cohesive marketing scheme, and found that for the most part I was successful and any criticisms were usually due to preference, for example the font and colour choices I made. I created another survey for my final short film to research whether it was successful in telling a story and being visually engaging. I received a lot of technical praise. For example, people tended to enjoy the camera work, the editing and the performance. I also received creative praise regarding elements like the animation and the themes of the story. I was quite pleased with my 4 out of 5 star average review. I found that all constructive criticism was very fair and followed a trend. The audience said they found the storyline dull at times and that the story could be developed and have a more definite ending. However, 90% understood the story fully, according to one of my questions. Therefore, my question asking, how could I improve, had some helpful answers for how I might change the production process in the future. Most people asked for a better developed story and a more engaging topic. I think this feedback shows my strengths lie in editing and production, and that I can improve with my creative ideas and screenwriting. I feel like writing and creating the story was the hardest part of this project for me, but I did develop and hope to develop this skill more in the future. In terms of branding, 90% of people guessed the genre correctly, and 100% remembered the title. Therefore, I think I was successful in marketing my brand to my target audience and following generic convention. For my focus group, I pulled 3 people in my target demographic, late teen girls, and had a discussion with them about my film. I led the discussion by asking questions and letting them answer. I'm aware that focus groups have their limitations. The people I interviewed were all my friends, so even though I asked them to be as honest as possible, they may not have wanted to hurt my feelings, or they may have been embarrassed to give their views on camera. They were also a limited sample and as a group may have influenced each other's answers. I also think to an extent they knew the types of answers I would prefer, and may have changed their opinions for this. I have some video footage of this discussion. I first asked what they liked about the film, and then what they disliked or what could be improved.
The colour schemes were nice at certain points. Camera quality was good.
I like the bits where it faded between the memories and then the person disappeared.
Yeah, the audio mixing was solid.
Thanks.
Solid
And
audio
the-
mixing.
Oh,
Paper
the stop
at the
motion
start.
bit, yeah. That was
Cool.
the highlight. The story could maybe be clearer
Yeah.
because it's a bit vague and there's not that much dialogue in it, so
Yeah, I felt like the story could have been more compelling
Yeah.
as a plot.
And they maybe had like some side things going on to make it more
Yeah.
interesting.
I was pleased with the positive feedback and found that the criticism followed a trend. My strengths were in production, but the actual story and writing could have been better. Bouncing off this feedback, I asked whether they understood the story fully after watching it the first time through, and here's what they said.
I think it's one of those films where like you don't know what it's about until the very end, and then you go back and watch it and you're like, oh.
I was working with the narrative theory of Enigma Code, so the fact that they would want to watch it again to understand it is conventional to my narrative. I found these trends in my surveys as well.
wish you were here.
Yeah,
Yes, it's on the postcard.
It's in the postcard.
Yeah, because at the moment we've all got exams and
Yeah,
pressures and
going to uni.
get
Yeah.
separated.
I think that through this extensive research, I was able to understand audience theory more clearly. I know now that targeting your product to specific demographics and honing in on your audience's interest is what will make your product more successful. And mostly I think I was successful. I met my aims in terms of the type of story I wanted to tell, and the majority of my feedback from peers and my target audience was positive. I think in the future I'd like to work on screenwriting, making my stories more compelling, and developing them better in the time that I have to tell them.